Good day, Market Chameleons and everyone joining for the first time. Thanks for coming by and checking out the Market Chameleon webinar series. Before we get started, let's take a look at the shared disclaimer. Please be aware that neither Market Chameleon, Dimitri, or myself are registered investment advisors or a broker dealer. If you're searching for investment advice, please reach out to a licensed professional. This webinar, as all our webinars and shows, are for informational purposes only concerning Market Chameleon tools and products. With that, one last look at the disclaimer, and let's welcome Dimitri Pargamonic to the stage, who's going to be talking about option value comparison using historical stock and options data. How are you doing, D?
Good. How are you all?
Great. Let me add your screen. There it
Good
is, the
morning,
Market
everyone.
Chameleon landing page. Just some housekeeping notes for with the holiday season upon us, and the exchange will be closed on Thursday. We'll have probably one last webinar, hopefully tomorrow, all well live, and then it will be pre-recorded on Friday, and then the weekend webinar series. So just so everyone knows. All
Thanks,
right.
Will. Good morning, everyone. What we'll do today is discuss two different ways to use historical data to create benchmarks for option values, so we could compare the current market prices to historical benchmarks and see how much the market prices are deviating. Let's go to an example first. So I'm just going to type in Google in the search. This will take us to Google stock. While we're on, we go to the Google's main page. Then we're going to navigate on the left-hand side. We're going to go to options. We're going to click on option chain. This brings up the options chain for Google. I'm going to click on this menu to minimize it to expand our screen. And in this options chain, we see all the different available options that are available for trading. On the left-hand side, we have the different expirations. So if we click on the expiration like this, it'll bring up the option chain for that particular expiration. And then on the right-hand side, you can see here's the expiration. These are the different strikes and the calls and puts. Calls on the left-hand side, puts on the right-hand side with the prices, the bids and asks for the corresponding calls, the bids and asks for the corresponding puts. And when we look at the market prices, as you can see here, here's Google 312.5. The call is $6.50 bid, $6.60 offer. Those are the market prices. And how do we then take that market price and compare it to a benchmark to get a sense of, are we on the higher end, lower end of the historical range? Okay, because we're looking at a price, but we need to kind of put that in relative terms to get a sense of its value, current value. Is it kind of high? Is it kind of low? And think of when you're looking at market prices for other things. Let's say you're looking at to invest in a rental property, and this rental property is for sale for X. Let's say $200,000. Well, how do you kind of just looking at that price? You don't know if that's high or low for that particular property. You'd start comparing it maybe to recent selling prices, or you'd compare it to, well, what are the rents versus the purchase price, and so you could start creating a relative value to compare it to a market price. And that's the idea here. Well, we have all these different prices, and can we create a relative value to compare to that market price? And in this example, what we're going to look at is two different ways. And I'm going to click on this. Let's just click on this option. Let's say 660. Okay, so I'm going to click on the offer. It brings up this ticket. January 6th call, 312.5, and we're looking at the price of 660. We could change it, but let's just leave it at that 660. And we run an analysis, and then based on running this analysis, I get these benchmarks here, quick benchmarks to compare. One is using historical stock return distribution. One's using historical option implied. And the difference there, just like I kind of gave you an example where we're looking at this rental property, well, we could look at the last sale prices and get an average. That's one way to look at it. Or we could just take the rental, the rental market and say, well, based on this rent, I'm going to get 10,000 a year. If I need to get an X amount of return or CapEx, then I put a value on that. And there are different ways to, other ways to try to put a value, a relative value on this property. And this is two different ways. One is we could just look at, well, if the option price says this, 660, what if I take the historical stock behavior? Well, how does the stock move around? And then take those historical returns using the same, time that, we have. What do we have here? We have 12 trading days here, 18 calendar days. So we have this information, and we can look historically how the stock behaves in 12 days, and what is based on those average movements over X amount of time. I think this is defaulted here to 2 years of data. We could change that. But based on those historical returns, we could say, well, on average, if we use that data, then the average end value of these options over time is $9.74. So this way, if we compare that to the recent price, we see, okay, well, the price is below that average, right? Now we could kind of get a sense of, okay, it's not that ridiculously priced or high based on just using historical stock behavior. We could also compare it at using the data. Let's just say we have 12 days stock behavior. Then we could look at, well, how many observations do we have? Right, here's a 12-day period, from maybe yesterday, 12 days ago. Then we have another period of 12 days before that, another period 12 days before that. So we have all these observations. And then the question is, well, if we buy it for 660, right? If that's what we're doing, if we're buying it for 660, how many of those observations in our history did the stock move enough to make the option worth more than 660, right? So whatever the stock has to move, like, let's just say, I don't know, the 0.5%, whatever it is, right? A fraction of a percent, but it has to move up a fraction of a percent to go above 660. Well, over a 12-day period, how many times did that happen? There were times that it went down. There were times that it was unchanged. There were times that it went up and not by enough. But then there were times that it did go up by enough. So this tells us is that 44% of those observations, the stock went up by a big enough percentage to cover this premium, right? To go above the strike and cover this premium. So now we kind of get a sense, okay, it's not, that unusual, right, for this option to be worth more than 660 based on, the historical data. And given today's strike, the stock, and how much it has to increase. And And then we could also look at those observations and say, well, using the historical data, we have a 12-day period of the stock moving around. It could be volatile. So how likely is it at any point in our data, we have these observations in our data that the stock goes, because in a 12-day period, the stock could go up, then it could go back down, it could come to unchanged, it could go up really high, then come back down and finish lower. So in that 12-day period, it's possible that the stock went up enough to cover this amount, but didn't stay there or continue going higher. Like say on day 3, it went up 2%. Day 4 came back in, day 5, and then it came back to unchanged. So it didn't hold that gain for the entire period. But did it ever even hit that mark, right? So in our observations, we go back and you see that 66% of the time that the stock did increase by enough at some point, holding it for 12 days that it would have covered the entire, just using parity, right? Like if it hit its highest mark and everything expired, 66% of the time it would have covered the entire cost of that option. So we could see that, now we have these historical benchmarks and historical occurrences to help us along the way to see, well, what type of risk do we have that with the stock based on just using that data. But that's using the stock price, right? That's using the stock price and calculating returns, right? So we're looking at the returns, how much percentage returns in the stock. What if we used a different methodology and said, okay, is the options themselves, could be priced differently than what the stock moves. So the stock, the option prices and the stock movements, they're not always, priced that way, the same way. They could be priced, usually it could be priced with higher premium for, for uncertainty or for anything could happen, or it could be priced lower because people's expectations are either that volatility will be lower or there's a lot of supplier demand to sell premiums. So those option prices are fluctuating, all the time. And let's compare that. Well, if we took the option prices historically and said we benchmark them to similar situations, we look, for 12 trading days with the strike price, 0.4% away. We looked at the implied volatilities and for similar options, and we said using those implied vols, if we just use the implied vols and plug those into the option pricing model, what's the average option price? Okay. So this is looking at the implied vols now. The irrelevant of what the stock does, we're just looking at the option prices, implied volatilities, because the option prices are looking at a model that is different than just, because it's using a model that's delta neutral and it's based on volatility metrics. So we're going to do that. Work backwards, get those implied vols, plug them back in to see what the average option price is, and that's the 676. So now we have these two different benchmarks using different methodologies, right? So they're going to give us different results, just like if you were looking at and valuing a real estate property and you use just hey, I'm going to use the average 6 selling prices. There could be 3 houses that sold. You average them out, and here you have one result. But if you say, like, well, the rental on these, if I rent it out, I'll get X. If I put a 10X, half X on it, what do I get? You'll get a different result, right? They're not going to be the same, but you have 2 different benchmarks now to compare. And so that's what this is. Now we looked at it and we're like, okay, now we got this 676. But this also shows us that the current price is below that. So that also just indicates, okay, the markets are indicating that volatility is going to be lower. There might be selling pressure. So we're kind of on the lower, and it kind of makes sense here because, we're going into the holidays and so forth. So that does make sense why it would be even lower. This tries to line it up kind of that way, but it makes sense, right? It makes sense. We're going into the holidays, things slow down. So we have to rationalize it too, right? We have to rationalize that it's lower, but does it make sense that it's lower? And yes, it kind of does. We kind of could use our logic. We could also look at it from, well, these are average prices. If we use the option values based on those implied volatilities, we could say, well, this is the average. What if we split the data, took all those observations, and sorted them from highest to lowest and just looked in the middle? Half of them were above, half were below. What would be the price? And that's this median price, 753. So we could see that half of all our observations would be above 753, which is obviously above 660, half below. What if we just wanted to take the range, right? The high-low range to see where are we on the range from the very lowest price we plot to the very highest using those implied vols. So you can see here, the historical range was 605, highest 1489. If we plug in the lowest IV and the highest IV observation. So we're closer to that lower range. So this is a quick way to look at an option, run it and get a sense without, further research and what else is going on, but at least we could get a quick assessment. Well, are we on the lower or higher range of those historical benchmarks? Okay, well, I'm going to send that back to you now.
Yeah, that was another awesome webinar, D. Thanks for bringing it to the Chameleon community. We are going to try to do a show tomorrow, correct, D?
Yeah, we're going to try to do the show tomorrow, and like you said, I think Friday, we're gonna.
Yeah, I'll send out a pre-recorded webinar. So everyone, thanks so much, D. Have a great day, and we will see you tomorrow.
Thanks, Will. Thanks everyone for joining. Stay safe out there. Have a great trading day.
All right, bye, buddy. All right, everyone, thanks for joining another Market Chameleon webinar. For those who are joining for the first time, remember to follow, like us. For those who follow us all the time, I hope you already gave us a thumbs up. A thumbs up are always appreciated. I did put into the chat yesterday for anyone who caught Options Robots weekly series with us. They were on yesterday and offered a 2-month free trial to the Chameleon community. I think it was Start 2026 MC. So if you want to give Options Robot, which can manage your trades for you, a try, it's a good opportunity that they gave us, anyone who's a Chameleon, that code. So you can get a free 2-month trial for Options Robot, maybe start after the new year when you want to try something a little new. Everyone, happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah. Everyone have a wonderful day. Hopefully some people can join tomorrow if they're not on the road. It looks like Swami's heading to the North Pole by car, so he may not be able to join us, but everyone else hopefully can join us. We'll see you tomorrow. If not, I'll see you after the holidays. Everyone have a great day. Bye-bye.